This video presents the historical development of humanism and education together with the key thinkers and their respective contributions. Humanism developed prominently during the Renaissance and later re-emerged in modern educational thought as a response to mechanistic and authoritarian approaches to learning. Rooted in the philosophy that individuals possess inherent worth, dignity, and potential, humanism shifted the focus of education from mere content transmission to the holistic development of the learner. Humanist educators emphasized the celebration of human dignity, reason, and potential, asserting that education should nurture the whole person rather than merely transmit knowledge or enforce conformity. By prioritizing learner autonomy, creativity, and authentic relationships, humanism transformed classrooms into supportive environments that nurture both academic and personal development. Let's start with the Italian scholar and poet, often considered as the father of Renaissance humanism, Francesco Petrarch. His ideas emerged during the early Renaissance as a response to medieval scholasticism, advocating education that values human dignity and rational inquiry. Petrarch inspired the revival of classical learning and moral reflection that became the hallmark of Renaissance humanism. His ideas marked a turning point from divine to human-centered education. He believed that human beings are capable of moral and intellectual greatness through cultivation of virtue and knowledge. For him, education should awaken the intellect and refine character through humanities, particularly literature, philosophy, and history. Learning was a lifelong pursuit of self-improvement and moral excellence. The next one is Vittorino da Feltre, an Italian Renaissance educator and humanist who integrated moral and civic training into classical education. His work arose in the 15th century Italy, responding to the need for education that prepared citizens for active and ethical participation in society. Vittorino demonstrated that humanism could guide the practical organization of schools. His holistic and compassionate model influenced liberal and moral education across Europe. He believed that education must develop the whole person, which includes the mind, body, and character, in harmony. Learning should be humane, joyful, and morally grounded. For him, education should integrate intellectual study, moral training, and physical exercise. At his school, he combined academic rigor with kindness and respect, ensuring students learned in a nurturing environment. Desiderius Erasmus, a Dutch Renaissance humanist, scholar, and theologian known for his educational writings. His contributions emerged during the Renaissance, challenging dogmatic religious instruction and advocating reasoned and ethical learning. Erasmus's synthesis of Christian morality and humanist learning advanced the ideal of education for both wisdom and virtue. His writings shaped modern values education and ethical instruction. He believed education should cultivate both intellect and virtue, and that true learning arises from reason guided by faith, fostering moral goodness and critical thought. For him, education should focus on character formation, humane instruction, and the study of languages, classics, and scripture. He opposed harsh discipline, advocating for gentleness and encouragement in teaching. A Scottish educator and founder of Summerhill School, A.S. Neil, pioneering child-centered education focusing on autonomy. His work developed during the early 20th century, responding to authoritarian schooling that suppressed individual development and creativity. Neil proved that freedom and trust foster intrinsic motivation and responsibility. His humanistic model inspired democratic and alternative education movements worldwide. He held that freedom is essential to authentic growth and that children are naturally good and capable of self-regulation when trusted and free from fear or compulsion. For him, education should nurture happiness and individuality. At his school in England, students chose their activities freely and participated equally in school governance, creating a democratic learning community. Carl Rogers, an American psychologist and educator known for client-centered therapy and learner-centered educational approaches. His ideas arose in the mid-20th century America, addressing rigid, teacher-directed schooling that neglected personal growth and human potential. Rogers transformed educational practice by prioritizing emotional well-being, empathy, and authenticity in the learning process. His principles underpin modern, learner-centered, and holistic education. He believed that individuals possess an innate tendency towards self-actualization and fulfillment. Learning occurs best in environments characterized by empathy, respect, and psychological safety. For him, education should be student-centered, with teachers acting as facilitators rather than authorities. The classroom must encourage self-discovery, emotional openness, and self-directed learning. We have here the proponent of the hierarchy of needs and self-actualization, Abraham Maslow, an American psychologist best known for humanistic psychology. His work emerged during a period dominated by behaviorism and reductionist psychology, offering a focus on human potential and fulfillment. Maslow's framework grounded humanistic education in psychology, influencing guidance counseling, social emotional learning, and holistic curriculum design. He emphasized self-actualization and the holistic development of students' intellectual, emotional, and moral capacities. He proposed the hierarchy of needs, suggesting that people must satisfy basic physical and emotional needs before achieving higher levels of esteem and self-actualization. For him, education should create conditions that support all levels of human need. Teachers must ensure safety, belonging, and confidence to enable creativity and self-realization in students. At present, humanism continues to guide student-centered education, holistic development, and social emotional learning initiatives. Its influence is seen in personalized learning, values education, and humanistic psychology-based classroom practices. Education systems increasingly emphasize empathy, creativity, and well-being, which are the core humanist ideals, fostering the full development of the individual. Humanism stands as one of the most enduring educational philosophies, affirming that education is not merely preparation for work, but preparation for life. From Petrarch's revival of classical virtue to Maslow's psychology of self-actualization, humanism consistently champions the dignity, creativity, and moral potential of every learner. Its holistic view of balancing intellect, emotion, and character continues to inspire education that uplifts the human spirit. The humanist tradition reminds us that education must cultivate not only knowledge but also empathy, purpose, and the fullness of our shared humanity. This has been the historical development of humanism in education. For more helpful videos in related education courses, you may subscribe to this channel. Thank you in advance.